Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really thought a resolution that was meant to bestow a benefit or benefits on the good people of this country would have been met with overwhelming embrace and would not have necessarily been the subject matter of discourse that seemingly invoked subtle animosity and a criticism of the government. But I want to make a point categorically clear, Mr. Speaker. I am a black man, and I'm black and proud. I want no one to befriend me who openly states that colonialism has a conscience. I don't want you to befriend me, Mr. Speaker, because the history of us as black people is not something that most of us want to revisit. It is not an enviable past. So, colonialism had a conscience. Let your conscience deal with you, not me. Now, Mr. Speaker, the whole objective of this exercise, the amendments and everything else, are meant to bring down the cost of goods, some 70-something items, by 12.5% for the benefit of the people of this country. But it appears, Mr. Speaker, and by and large, the Maliways would be in the majority of beneficiaries. It appears, Mr. Speaker, that anything that bestows a benefit, they're running already. Anything that bestows a benefit on indigenous St. Lucian people, the leader of the opposition has a problem with it. Anything, Mr. Speaker. He has a problem with it. He has a problem with it, Mr.
Member
Speaker.
for Social Saltivus.
Mr. Speaker, I'm hoping that this is not going to be a pattern, but I stand on a point of object. The member is misleading the House. You would have heard both myself and the member from Mikur South support this motion, Mr. Speaker. So to say that we have a problem with the bill is false. Thank you.
I will continue. I really thought that was an interjection of substance, Mr. Speaker, so I shall dismiss it with due dispatch. Mr. Speaker, he seemingly has a problem with anything that bestows a benefit on the people of this country. And I want to take you back a little. I want you to visit the historicity of his prime ministership. When he came in, Mr. Speaker, there was a subsidy on rice, flour, and sugar. You remember, Mr. Speaker? It didn't take him long to remove the subsidy on rice, flour, and sugar. It didn't take him that long. Excuse me? That is false. Mr. Speaker, his justification was that hoteliers and other people used those very commodities and that they needed to have been a more targeted, a more focused approach on the poorer people of this country. So he removed it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you'll tell me that's not true. From time immemorial, every prime minister had kept and supported what we refer to as the distress fund. It was meant, Mr. Speaker, for our people who were unable to afford insurance. So in the unfortunate event of a natural calamity, there were funds that would come to the rescue. What did he do, Mr. Speaker? In a like manner, as he removed the subsidies on rice, flour, and sugar, he removed the distress fund, Mr. Speaker, and he asked the people with plywood houses, go get insurance. Go get insurance. Is that the action of any leader who truly cares about the St. Lucian people, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, what the UWP was characterized by during 2016 and 2021, Mr. Speaker, was to take advantage on Maliways. take advantage on Malaways and permit those who are already rich to become further enriched, Mr. Speaker. Look at the situation with the license imposed on the various occupations, if you want to call them that. At 1 o'clock in the morning, at 1 in the morning, men of consciences sat in this chamber to impose a license on block makers, on black pudding makers, on hairdressers, on mechanics, on charcoal makers. Who are the set of people that engage in those professions? Who are the people who engage in those professions, Mr. Speaker? Our locals, Mr. Speaker. Our locals who resort to a trade for survival. So don't come and tell us you care about St. Lucians. You all don't. You all don't. But meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, meanwhile, you will further enrich those who are already rich, or you will take the little that we have, Mr. Speaker, and give it to foreigners. When you tell me, Mr. Speaker, if foreigner came here, la me bala say, without 1 penny, without $1, and this member for Viewford South, when he was Prime Minister, gave instructions to the NIC, to let Miku South, when he was Prime Minister. Yes, when he was Prime Minister. Oh, Viewford South? No, sorry. My humble apologies. When he was Prime Minister, the member for Miku South gave instructions to the NIC, Mr. Speaker, to take pensioners' money. Take money belonging to the pensioners, Mr. Speaker, and to permit them to use that money to buy our land. You will never do that. And today, Mr. Speaker, the lands are like a foreign territory to the average St. Lucian. You care about St. Lucians. And what is worse, Mr. Speaker, the NIC were in a state of preparedness to buy the land and to do a development so that the average St. Lucian could have owned a slice of St. Lucia. But it was swept under them. Instructions given. And I don't mind, Mr. Speaker, I don't mind if an investor comes there with their money. I don't mind if they spend their money for the benefit of our people. But when you are taking the little that we have and give to them to make more money on us, that is heartbreaking, Mr. Speaker. It really is. So he dealt with Cabot, Mr. Speaker. He took another one from Texas and called him Ojo Labs. Ojo Labs. $5 million is not enough. But he spent $5 million to refurbish a building for a foreigner, Mr. Speaker. $5 million to refurbish a building for a foreigner. And on top of that, Mr. Speaker, had the audacity to give an undertaking to pay all utility bills and pay the staff, Mr. Speaker, with our taxpayers' money, whilst we get absolutely nothing out of it, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to caring for our people, you know, you listen to the leader of the opposition, and all of a sudden you would believe he has undergone some kind of ritual that has transformed him into the most caring character that ever walked in St. Lucia. But that is the same man who took the Dahe Mall, Mr. Speaker, valued at over $60 million. Over $60 million. You know, Mr. Speaker, politicians don't take jail for crime against the state. And I'll come to crimes in a while. But it is high time. I don't want this thing about pursue you. Those kinds of decisions which are heartless, which are obviously against the interests of the country and the citizens thereof. Those kinds of decisions, Mr. Speaker, should be the subject matter of criminal proceedings, in my view. so that politicians, when they occupy the chair of authority, they have to understand that reasonableness must prevail in their deliberations. You tell me, Mr. Speaker, a mall valued at $60 million, you sold it for less than quarter of the price. At least that's what the deed says. Although he said in court, Mr. Speaker, I can say this, he said in court that he sold them all for $27 million. I have the transcript of the proceedings, which I will make public. The deed says 13 and a half. In court, he says 27. So if that is the case, I don't know where the 13.5 million gone. But in any event, Mr. Speaker, you sold them all for less than quarter of the value. And on top of that, Mr. Speaker, had the gall, had the heartlessness to bind this country for 16.5 years to rent part of that same mall at a cumulative total, Mr. Speaker, of in excess of $200 million. Who does that, Mr. Speaker? Who does that, Mr. Speaker? And then you want to talk about you care about this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition is a flip-flopper. He's a flip-flopper. And he's one who utters words of convenience. My name is Richard Frederick. I will never say my name is Frederick Richard or Fredericker as he once referred to me. It doesn't matter. But you see, Mr. Speaker, when you just spew out of convenience, and I remember when he was interviewed he was the Prime Minister then, he was interviewed, Mr. Speaker, by a journalist from Barbados, and he openly said that St. Lucia has received 800 deportees, and the Barbadian journalists expressed utter surprise. 800? He said, yeah, 800. Yes, those are the kind of tales. He flip-flops, Mr. Speaker. And when he speaks, it all depends on the position he holds. And I'll give you a couple examples. So when you hear him speaking here today about CIP and this and that and the other, it is a position that he juxtaposes to his current status as leader of the opposition. If, God forbid, and God will not forbid, Almighty is a good God, that he would be Prime Minister again, he would flip-flop. I'll give you a few examples. Let's deal with Galaxy, Mr. Speaker. Galaxy and CIP, he spoke of it. Mr. Speaker, the member for Swazel Saltibus is on record as glamorizing Galaxy, Mr. Speaker. He said, and I quote, Galaxy was engaged after extreme due diligence. And then the leader of the opposition went on to say, Galaxy will expose us to the Asian market, and we love it. Today, Mr. Speaker, they brought Galaxy. Today, Galaxy is the worst devil, Mr. Speaker. It is the worst devil. And that would not have been the tune he would have sung had he been Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. Had he been Prime Minister. He talks about the CIP has no transparency now. But Mr. Speaker, you see, transparency can be deduced by your actions or your intention not to comply with any transparent deeds can be deduced from your actions. When the leader of the opposition became Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, the law governing the CIP program said specifically that the escrow account must be in St. Lucia. Must be in St. Lucia. He amended the laws, Mr. Speaker, to facilitate T.O. King and the DSH deal, and permitted T.O. King to have an escrow account in any country he's desirous of having it. In any country, not even being specific to a geographical setting, Mr. Speaker. In any country. And guess what? Further to that, Mr. Speaker, there was a stipulation which made it a compunction to come to this chamber to get parliamentary approval for expenditure from the CIP proceeds. You know what he did, Mr. Speaker? He removed it. He removed it. So if you believe in transparency, let the people of this country, let the nation know that we have $10 million in the kitty. This is how we intend to do it. He removed that. He removed it. And further, Mr. Speaker, in the agreement with DSH, you're talking transparency. You just said that the man can set up an escrow account any way he wants. And guess what? We have absolutely no oversight or no collaboration. Our acts or deeds are not required for withdrawals or deposits into that account. Up to today, Mr. Speaker, up to now, none of us in government know exactly how much went into that account, if any money went into it, where is it located, what was it used for, and if there's a residual balance. We don't know. We are as blind as Theo King has eyes on that account. As blind as that. But it is a fact that it is in the agreement. And I don't want anybody to tell me that Theo King came here with the sole intention of making money. He's been granted an opportunity to sell passports, put the money overseas, and does not have to account to government, and he did not sell one passport. The thing is, Mr. Speaker, and it's a question I really want answered. Where is that account? Questions rather. Where is that account? How many passports did Theo King sell? How much was in that account? Whether the money is still there? If part of it was used, what was it used for? And what is the residual balance? We don't know. We don't know, Mr. Speaker. And all of us, Mr. Speaker, remain here just wondering what's happening, Mr. Speaker. So he flip-flops. GPH, Mr. Speaker. GPH. Mr. Speaker, sometimes I feel sorry for you. I must tell you, member for Suzel Soltibus. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you because you as a banker, you know, you are reminding me that you put St. Lucia in this bind. You as a banker signed this Theo King agreement. You, yes you. You know, you believe you could do that to the people of this country? Mr. Speaker, GPH, you know, Mr. Speaker, GPH was introduced here by the same leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition. Today, GPH is a bigger devil than Galaxy because he's in opposition. He trotted the globe with GPH. In fact, on one occasion, he brought senior minister with him. And while senior minister resigned to his room, he left senior minister there and went on several private jets, looking at what senior minister was supposed to have been seeing. Yeah. You know, and today, Mr. Speaker, today you want to talk about GPH. And you know the hypocrisy in it, Mr. Speaker? And you know how I deal with documents, and I have the appropriate forum, not only to speak to the documents, but to show the documents. Mr. Speaker, there was an agreement in place before this government assumed office. There was an agreement with the last government and GPH. When this government came in, we don't stop things like he does. You know, I'll come to that in a little bit. Stop the airport, stop this administrative center, square in Soufre. We don't operate so. Governance is a continuing phenomenon. That's what it's supposed to be. I am talking about you didn't pay this, I didn't pay. Because his concept of government, Mr. Speaker, is still in his non-existent brain. That it is, I do this, you do that. I do this, you do that. If something redounds to the benefit of the good people of this country, no administration worth their salt should stop it, even if you were not the initiator. So, Mr. Speaker, there was an agreement with GPH long before we came in. Long before we came in, he signed it. He had already given all head taxes to GPH. All. Now, we fixed the agreement. He turns around. Oh, you all sell the ports, you all sell the ports. Notwithstanding, we amended the agreement for more benefit to the government and people of this country. But he's now preaching we sold the ports when there was an agreement in place. But I'll be showing those documents, Mr. Speaker, not necessarily here. I'll show those documents because you see, when they spew the disinformation, misinformation, or propaganda, Mr. Speaker, sadly, some of our gullible people, they digest it wholeheartedly or wholesomely and believe that it is true. So he was in office, GPH was good. Out of office, you sold the port. Galaxy, very good. Galaxy now, he teams up with a criminal, a convicted fraudster, Mr. Speaker, to bring down the country, to burn the country down in the hopes that he will rule over the ashes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition does not like us. He does not like us, Mr. Speaker. And he takes every opportunity to ensure that the worst can happen to St. Lucia so that he can waltz in on a carpet of warm embrace to reassume prime ministership of this country. But that will not happen, Mr. Speaker. He don't like us. He put us in the thing with T.O.R. King, Mr. Speaker, and was relishing an opportunity for T.O.R. King to sue us. When you tell me, Mr. Speaker, you went to New York and you're on a stage saying that we will lose our corresponding banking, Mr. Speaker, a deed that can almost bring us to our economic knees. You were praising this, believing it was imminent. It would have happened tomorrow, as he said. Nothing was further from the truth. And that even prompted Bank of St. Lucia, the former employer of the member for Swazel Saltibus, to issue a press release. And knowing what you have signed and knowing all of those things, I'm just wondering, when one is sent to the political wilderness, which is very soon, whether your former employer would consider your re-engagement given the egregious financial deeds which you were directly involved in. So, Mr. Speaker, on the one hand he says this, and on the other he says something else, Mr. Speaker. You know, I don't want to say this, you know, Mr. Speaker, but today, and all of that was prompted by a meeting that the leader of the opposition attended in St. Vincent. He attended a meeting in St. Vincent, Mr. Speaker, and is urging members of the OECS to sever ties with CARICON. You know, that has taken the front page of the Gleaner newspaper from the time he said it in all publications. In all publications, that he has lost his marbles. He has lost his senses. He has lost common sense. They have labeled this man in such derogatory terms, Mr. Speaker, that if he was prime minister and you were on foreign territory, you would be ashamed to say that he is your prime minister. And that cannot be said about Philip Joseph P. Only proud people. It cannot be said. So, you know, Mr. Speaker, he made this outrageous statement. And, well, you know, Gaston Brown didn't take that too lightly. He had already said that the man is not too bright. Then you had the Dominican Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, denouncing that. Then you had the Prime Minister of Grenada with his input about how nonsensical the statement is. But what took the cake, Mr. Speaker, was an article that appeared at 11:53 on the St. Vincent Times in which the leader of the opposition was labeled as the worst prime minister in the Caribbean for the 21st century. The worst prime minister in the Caribbean for the 21st century. And somebody told me that when I am where I do my bit, ensure that there is a corrective measure to this statement. He is not the worst prime minister in the Caribbean in the 21st century, but he is the worst prime minister in the history of Caribbean governance. That is what I was asked to say. So, Mr. Speaker, this is who we are dealing with, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you tell me the flip-flopping continues, they had so much to say about the Nigerian president, Mr. Speaker. Taking excerpts on the internet. Mr. Speaker, and I want to say this to internet users. Be very careful. Approach the veracity of what you read on the internet with utmost caution. You must never always believe what you read on the internet. Sometimes I read things on the internet about myself, and I wonder if there was another Richard Frederick residing within the four corners of this country of ours. There was an instance, Mr. Speaker, where, having seen one or two articles about the death of Darren Sammy, I literally took the phone and I called Darren Sammy. He was somewhere far, I don't know where he was. I said, Darren, you good? Yeah, buddy, I there. I said, Darren, I just read that you dead. And it was on the internet. So they go scrolling the internet. They don't care who the author of the relevant articles are. Because invariably, Mr. Speaker, once you find yourself in the political spotlight, you will get dissenting views, you will get views that support you. That is the nature of politics. But what you can never sway away from, Mr. Speaker, is the truth. The truth. So, the Nigerian president came here. They had a press release. A press release. And I want to say this in this chamber. I am really surprised at a man who had some level of experience in the diplomatic circle. I thought this man brought, a breath of fresh air to what is now called the United Workers' Party. But, Mr. Speaker, I was taken aback. I was taken aback. Tonight I want to speak to you about Lajab Bless and Bolom. Excuse me. And then the leader of, no, he was saying that. He said that, addressing an audience, he's saying tonight, I want to speak to you about Lajab Bless and Bolom. And then the leader of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, you would swear he would capitalize on the publicity, the little publicity that he gets, and comes with issues of how we will deal with what we do alternatively. No. He has gone into the sexuality of people. Frederick, he calls me. Frederick. But Mr. Speaker, he could have called me Raquela. I didn't mind, he called me Frederick. But that's for another show, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, that is what we have now as an opposition, the flip-flopping. I heard that same man with a certain bit of experience in the diplomatic circles speak to or read a press release basically denouncing, Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, the visit by the president of Nigeria. The visit by the president of Nigeria, Mr. Speaker. Flabo denounced the visit by the president of the Nigeria. But you know what I've always told them? Records don't go away. Records don't go away. So when you said at a summit of the Americans meeting that transparency should be shelved, and you come and say you never said that, the clips are there. The clips are there. And so, whilst they publicly denounced the visit by the Nigerian president, Mr. Speaker, they forget that during their time, they had already reduced to writing a cabinet memo to establish diplomatic ties with Nigeria. But that is what you get from the flip-floppers, Mr. Speaker. That is what you get from the flip-floppers. You know, Mr. Speaker, even today, and I dare say the leader of the opposition hates St. Lucians. He hates us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the article to which he referred, when he said, and all he does, Mr. Speaker, he stirs anxiety, he stirs fear into our people, hoping, Mr. Speaker, that that fear and anxiety would translate to support for him and against the current government. When you tell me, Mr. Speaker, when you tell me, you will say here something that never ever happened, that they suspended Schengen visas for St. Lucia. For St. Lucia, he mentioned St. Lucia specifically and other OECS countries. Mr. Speaker, the article in its entirety does not mention St. Lucia. There is nowhere in the article is St. Lucia mentioned. And if you will permit me quickly, Mr. Speaker, I'll just read a brief excerpt of the article, very brief, because all the guys are doing in place, Mr. Speaker, is to put a mechanism for those who engage in visa abuse. That's all. They are putting in place mechanisms to redress visa abuse. Mr. Speaker, let me get to that very quickly. Okay. All right. I just want to read what a member said verbatim, Mr. Speaker. Visa policy. Council and European Parliament secure a deal and rules about the suspension of visa-free travel for third countries. For third countries outside the Union. What it says there very quickly, Mr. Speaker, visa-free travel to the EU benefits foreign citizens and the EU alike. But if citizens of third countries abuse this advantage, the EU must have all necessary tools in place to correct the situation. These instruments can put pressure on countries that evade cooperation in preventing and combating irregular migration. That is all I said, Mr. Speaker. Basically, there were two criteria, the basis upon which they can either suspend or revoke your visa. They increased it to 4. And that applies to anyone who they believe are contravening the terms under which a visa was issued. But this man, with an intention to instill fear, with an intention to cause anxiety, and because of his hatred of St. Lucians, he hates them, but he wants to live a life of largesse on their backs through their support. He hates St. Lucians, I dare say, Mr. Speaker. Will tell us that visas, they took the decision to suspend or revoke, suspend or whatever visas of St. Lucia and the OECS. You know, that is wickedness to the extreme. That is wickedness to the extreme, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, I heard the members speak on, I don't know why he wants gas to be put in there. You know, this is meant for the poorer people, Mr. Speaker. He wants gas to be placed in the list of VAT reduced items. He talk about why the price of VAT doesn't go down. Mr. Speaker, you remember...
Member for Caspi Central, to be fair, the leader of the opposition didn't say that.
Well, he spoke about the price of gas not going down. He didn't say he wanted it included.
He spoke about the excise tax.
Excise tax on the gas. And then he said it would bring down the price of gas. But Mr. Speaker, you remember the Orange March? You remember the Orange March? The Orange March was on the heels of the 2016 election, Mr. Speaker. He misled the people of this country, saying that there was a tax on gas that was never existing. It never existed, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Miku South.
Mr. Speaker, the member is misleading the House because immediately after the march, if I recollect correctly, the gas prices came down by the same amount that we were saying. And exactly what was taking place now is what was taking place then. That the government was charging, had an added amount to the excise tax than what the regulated amount was. And that was proven.
Remember, wasn't it a situation of recalculating the pass-through mechanism from
That
3
is
months
I was going
to
to
3
explain
weeks?
No, Mr. Speaker, because it was being done for successive periods.
But that's my...
Reconciliation would have been done on a quarterly basis, which they amended it and they changed it now to a monthly basis. But the fact was, Mr. Speaker, they were charging a higher amount. And when the march took place, immediately after the march, the tax prices came down exactly the amount of what we were declaring was the excessive amount, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go too much into that. When, after they won the elections, Mr. Raymond, who was, what was his portfolio again? Economic, he came on television and said that the taxes that were referred to, they are not existing. You Balder said so. I have the clip where he said so. Up to now, that tax cannot be seen, just like the lockbox in Viewfort. Where's the lockbox? PM, you got the lockbox? It's still locked for the gas. No lockbox. I want to know if that lockbox is a forestier. Where is the lockbox? You know, there was a non-existent 680, he said, and everybody was marching, Mr. Speaker. What he speaks to, let me clarify quickly, the supply chain issues of fossil fuel encounters fluctuation in prices, Mr. Speaker. So, for example, when Iran and what are the other names? The Palestinians and Israel and all of them in their stuff. I mean, most of the world oil come from that area. So you will find, Mr. Speaker, you'll not believe. About 6 years ago, I imported 4 containers out of China. The price per container was about 3,000 and something US. Mr. Speaker, only on Monday or Tuesday, I have 2 40-foot containers coming from China. Each container cost me over 17,000 US. So it is the supply chain issues to which you refer. And all of that is outside the scope of governmental authority. We can do absolutely nothing about that. So that if the price goes up, the price of the fuel will go up. And those are the kind of fluctuations that we have to guard our people against. And that is why I am one of the advocates of alternative energy, Mr. Speaker. So it ensures a stability from the domestic front. But yes, he said there was 680 and it was not existent. Another thing he said, Mr. Speaker, they won the elections, big rally in Miku, flabo. He took the mic and there is a document on my desk. As soon as I sign it, the price of gas will go down. Where is that document? Where's the you saw it, Mr. Senior Minister? You never saw it. Where is the document? You have to learn to stop fooling people. This is now an era where intelligence is not only for the few. Intelligence is not only for the few. The president of Nigeria was telling us how his mother was a trader. My mother was a farmer. My father was a truck driver. Not because you're born in a certain economic family that makes you intellectually superior. In fact, you'll be intellectually more deficient. You understand? Gas will go down. And he talked about gas. During COVID, Mr. Speaker, when the fishermen, in all that difficulty, approached the Prime Minister for rebate on gas, ask him what he told them, Mr. Speaker. He did not do anything for them. Today, ask the fishermen what this government has done for them, Mr. Speaker. And you will see the difference. So don't talk about gas and this and that and the other. Mr. Speaker, he goes and talk about crime. And you have to correct him, but I had that down as well. He takes home, again, when you can barely read, you cannot read to understand. When your analytical ability is nearing zero or almost non-existent, there is very little you can do. Crime comes under a greater caption. Larceny, robbery, blah, 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 homicides, so and so. And you talk about crime. You should not be talking about crime, because you say that they murder a dog. Murder by its definition means the killing of a human being. You cannot murder a dog. I don't know where you learned that from, murder a dog. That's a nice clip for me, murder a dog. A dog was murdered. I'll add bits and pieces, trust me. The dog was murdered, A dog was murdered. Women, talking about crime. Look at your actions and look at that of this current government. What did you do in relation to crime? We had the largest prisoner holding facility in the OECS, built by the then member for Castries North when he was Prime Minister. I asked him the funds to build it. I was Minister of Physical Development, and we put it up. We went through the entire OECS to check the size of the largest one, and we almost doubled it. And I don't know what it did to you. You put an excavator in it without any kind of justification, and then talk about crime. Your audacity, your boldness, talk about crime. And what is worse, we spent $5 million to build an alternative prison, Mr. Speaker, an alternative holding facility, and the man will go and criticize that. What did you do for crime? What did you do? Absolutely nothing. You found everything in place. You found who was the contractor? You know the two fellas you were riding behind in Grosile? That's another show. That's another show. Do you know the two guys you were riding? You have a fetish for being behind men. Mr. Speaker, what did you do for crime? Raquel. What did you do for crime? You demolished the biggest prisoner holding facility we had on paper, and the income stream, the source of funding to build the Northern Divisional Police Headquarters. You left it lying there. Today it's almost completed. Today we have a new facility, custody suites, brand new. And you have a problem with that. You have a problem with that. You celebrate crime because you believe it's your pathway to prime ministership again. That will not happen. That will not happen. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, Philip Joseph Pierre, the Prime Minister and member for Castries East, Mr. Speaker, reinstated the police vote that the last government had removed. There was a police training vote, Mr. Speaker. The last government had removed it.
Member for Miku South.
On a point of hallucination.
Member, it's a point of elucidation. Are you yielding?
No, Mr. Speaker. Once it's elucidation, I don't want to hear his lecture now, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to hear his lecture. No, I'm not yielding. The police vote, training vote, was removed and was reinstituted by this government.
Member from Mico South.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, again, the member would say that the vote was removed. The vote was removed for 1 year for COVID. 1 year. 1 year during COVID and for budgetary constraints. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Mr.
Member, how does that address what he just said?
Leave that alone.
Just a minute, Member of Castle Central. Well,
Mr. Speaker, I'm tired of hearing that COVID. Mr. Speaker, if you look at our economic review, one would see COVID hit us in January of 2020. In January of 2020, Mr. Speaker, the economy of this country had already commenced declining before COVID.
Member from Mico South.
Yeah, the member is misleading the House, and that's not true, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we were on a record pace of all the major sectors, and it was in the last quarter, exactly what the member said, that when we had COVID in January 2020, that all of a sudden the tourism arrivals dropped in January, February, and March, that caused the economy to contract by 0.5%.
Member, whilst the chair cannot engage in debate, the chair can comment on documents that are documents of the House.
Yes.
And the economic and social review that has been presented to this House did show a decline in 2019.
Before COVID.
So that's on the record.
Yes.
As to the reasons for it, that's not for me to debate. But the economic review of 2019 did say that.
That's what I said. That under his watch, Mr. Speaker, under his watch, the recession commenced because of COVID, before COVID, sorry. That is not to say I am not escaping the inevitable to say that COVID did not impact negatively on us. I am not saying that. But not in 2019. Not in 2019.
Member from Mico South.
Speaker, on a point of order, member again is misleading the House. The documents in Social and Economic Review don't show the economic growth on 2019 or 2020. It's 2019 to 2020. The 2019 to 2020 would include the first quarter, January, February, and March in the numbers, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I still maintain that before COVID ever hit our shores, the economy was already in recession. And the same way I bet $1 billion a man cannot sing the national anthem, I am prepared to bet 10 million that the economy was in recession before COVID hit us. That's a fact. You know? Now, Mr. Speaker, take the bet. Now, Mr. Speaker, you know, the leader of the opposition has the audacity to talk about corruption. Corruption. Yes, when he mentioned corruption, Mr. Speaker, I was in awe because I never thought that this is a place he wanted to venture. Mr. Speaker, the corruption index is showing that our most corrupt year was 2017 under the leadership of the member for Mico South. Our most corrupt year in our history was under his leadership. We were 41, Mr. Speaker, out of 100. 41 out of 100, we scored very, very low. Right now, Mr. Speaker, we are at 58. When he left us, we were ranking some 73 or 74 out of 180 countries. Today, we are ranked 35, and the highest it has been was 70 under the member for Viewfort South when he left it, and the member for Castries North took over. He maintained that 70. And as soon as UWP came in, Juju, run as fast as juju. Most corrupt year in our history. But you see, Mr. Speaker, I can understand. I can understand, because when a mall is valued at 60 million and a deed of sale shows that you sell it for 13.5 million and you said in court on the oath you sell it for 27 million, we don't even know which one is right. We don't even know which one is right. We don't even know which one is right, Mr. Speaker. You know? So corruption must.
Member from Mico South.
Mr. Speaker, on misleading the House again, we've had this conversation. There was a development agreement that determined the sale of the property.
I'm not going into that.
The property was sold for $27 million. In the development agreement, it was agreed that we would have paid the $27 million and we would have transferred the asset over to the developer. So not for the $27 million, Mr. Speaker. And that was done so that the developer could get the loan, exactly what's taking place right now at the House of Justice, Mr. Speaker. The exact same system. So for the member to continue to mislead the House to say that the value was $60 million, it was valued at $60 million, and the government bought it in receivership for $27 million. I've provided this House with all of that evidence, Mr. Speaker. That's exactly what it was paid for. So I don't want the member to continue to mislead the House that they had a value of $60 million. It had a value of $60 million when it was being developed previously, and it went into receivership, and the receivers sold it for $27 million. And the $27 million included 10 acres of land at Union, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I
Please
stand
proceed,
by.
member.
I will. I stand by what I say. I am in possession of a deed of sale that the mall was sold for $13.5 million. I stand by that. I stand by the leader of the opposition saying under oath before a judge.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said, Mr. Speaker, he's misleading the House. You cannot look at the deed of sale in itself.
Member from Mico South,
I
have ruled that he's not misleading the House.
He is misleading the House, Mr. Speaker.
That's your view.
Mr. Speaker,
it is my ruling that matters in here. I have made the ruling.
showed you the document.
Please proceed, member for Castries.
Thank you. Can you turn off his mic, please? Can you turn off his mic?
Mr. Speaker, the deed of sale shows that there is a development agreement. You cannot look at the deed of sale without looking at the development agreement, Mr. Speaker.
Member
Mr. Speaker, we've had this argument, this discussion before.
I'm not wrong. I showed you this because the deed of sale makes reference to the development agreement. You must cannot look at the deed of sale.
Member for Castries Central, please proceed.
I could go out. Not now. Mr. Speaker, I said so on my show. I said so on my show, and I will say it on my show again. And I will show the transcript where he told the judge he sold it for 27 million. I will show the deed of sale where it shows he sold it for 13.5. I will show the two documents, Mr. Speaker. I will show them. I will show the valuation by Skinny Sinclair, done about 2 months before the sale. You know me. You know me. Say it outside, boy, don't threaten me. Don't do that. Sorry. So yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the deed of sale, as you have, shows $13.5 million. He said before a judge in court, he sold it for $27 million. There is a gross inconsistency between what the deed of sale shows and what he said on oath before a judge. That is all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Asking me to say that outside. I'll say it on my show. You know? So, Mr. Speaker, you telling me that's a man who cares about us, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, this man would say $5 million is not enough. During COVID, Mr. Speaker, they borrowed in excess of $500 million. There is a clip that says so. He was at HTS doing an interview. We borrowed over $500 million. And yet, they did not give St. Lucians 1 cent. The Minister of Economic Development at the time, I have the clip where he says, so y'all just want people to give you all money. And today, a $54 million benefit is not enough. Well, you see, Mr. Speaker, if he did not take
Remember,
our
you
vaccine...
have 7 minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll wrap up. You know, Mr. Speaker, and then he talk about cost. He talk about the developer, Reno, said he can... Mr. Speaker, we are not building St. Jude without a bill of quantities. There is a bill of quantities for the construction of St. Jude. If the developer believes that for expediency and to deliver and to restore some benefit to the people of this country, he'll go into his profits. That's his business. That is a good civic gesture. That's what it is. And then, had an insinuation, Mr. Speaker. A line item for 200 million for the hospital, but British Airways is worth 5 billion. So in his mind, he's asking people to believe that we're spending 5 billion. I mean, nonsense alone. When you tell me as Prime Minister, you had the airport under construction, and you are permitting people to do it without a bill of quantities. This man you see there is not as callous and engaged in those egregious financial deeds like you. You know, doing an airport without a bill of quantities, I can guarantee the people of St. Lucia that we have a bill of quantities for the hospital, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the last thing I want to say, it's a pity two of them are not there. He spoke about the old St. Jude. 4 prime ministers sitting in here, 3 former and the current. All 4 of them, despite being on different sides of the political divide, found every reason to go with our old St. Jude, if you want to call it that. He's the only man. Don't ask me why. Mere weeks after you won the elections, demolished 2 buildings that cost taxpayers $7 million. And just before the election, go and put cladding on the outside to basically clad people's eyes. They were seeing through it. Don't tell me 3 prime ministers go wrong and you alone right. And then the same cladding, Mr. Speaker, could not have gone without part of the old St. Jude. You know, nonsense alone, Mr. Speaker. And the same man that talk about loving the people. How can you tell me 11 days before an election you will sign a contract for direct award for $70 million at 1% interest per day? 70 million at 1% per day for late charges. You have no conscience. You don't like St. Lucians. You like the opportunity they can bestow upon you. That is all you like. To go to China and eat. You know, the opportunity you like that they could bestow upon you, but you don't like us. You don't like us. Mr. Speaker, let me just say, I wholeheartedly support this resolution. It is for the benefit of the good people of this country. But I had to go down memory lane, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the good people of this country remember that all the deeds that the former Prime Minister were engaged in were not for the benefit and not for the interest of St. Lucians. If they were, we would have been $7.3 million richer, our vaccine money. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. I thank you.